Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, on PRConnectedRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Kelly. The Vegas Golden Knights have had a fantastic 2022-2023 season. Vegas Golden Knights have had a lot right happen in year 6 of Vegas' campaign. There's been a lot that has gone well since Vegas has been playing in the NHL. A lot has gone right since Bill Foley, George McPhee, Kelly McCrimmon entered the NHL all those years ago. One category and one part Vegas Golden Knights have done very well on, one part Vegas has done a lot well is coaching. It is finding a head coach, finding someone you can have be on the bench and can lead a locker room. Now, most people in Las Vegas know about Gerard Gallant. Most people here in Vegas know about the tenure of Gerard Gallant. There are some people who remember good parts about it and bad parts about it. People remember when Gerard Gallant got hired in 2017 to be your first head coach for your Vegas Golden Knights. There was some conversation about what we can do for Vegas. Similar to when Pete DeBoer got brought in to be the Vegas head coach after being from San Jose. There was a lot of conversation about what would they be able to do, what would want be able to do, what would DeBoer be able to do, and there was conversation in the 2022 NHL offseason about what would Bruce Cassidy be able to do. What would a 5-year contract be able to reward Bruce Cassidy heading into Vegas? What would be a best case scenario for Bruce Cassidy? And even though it has been a small sample, even though it is only year 1 of a 5-year contract Bruce Cassidy signed with Las Vegas, I only know it's only 1 year in, I have seen enough evidence. I have seen enough to support what this topic video is about. What my conclusion has been about Bruce Cassidy is not only do I believe that he's been the best pick out of the trio that have been hired by Vegas so far, not only am I very confident Bruce Cassidy can help lead Vegas to a potential Stanley Cup victory at some point down the line, I am very confident Boston Bruins fans and Boston Bruins management and Boston Bruins players, you're not going to want to hear what I have to say next. But this is Vegas Hockey Hub. I'm going to say it anyway. The Boston Bruins helped your Vegas Golden Knights by firing Bruce Cassidy. Boston Bruins made the biggest mistake that their franchise has made in a long time by firing Bruce Cassidy. And Vegas picked him up a week later, and they've made one of the best hires the Vegas Golden Knights have made in their short 6-year existence in the NHL. For anyone who doesn't remember who Bruce Cassidy is, or for anyone who doesn't know who Bruce Cassidy is, let me give you a brief reminder on who Bruce Cassidy is. Bruce Cassidy was a defenseman in his playing days. As a matter of fact, Bruce Cassidy in the OHL, the Ontario Hockey League, put up a 111-point season in 1982, playing for the Ottawa 67. Bruce Cassidy, in a 3 seasons playing in the OHL for the Ottawa 67, had over 240 points as a junior hockey player. Bruce Cassidy was an incredible talent as a player. Keep in mind that Bruce Cassidy was drafted in the first round by the Chicago Blackhawks in the 1983 NHL entry. This is the same Bruce Cassidy who played um, 6 seasons in the NHL, all the Chicago Blackhawks, might I add, and he actually put up some statistics in his career. Not only did he play over 400 professional games, he also put up 255 points in his professional career, playing in the NHL and playing in the IHL, which was the equivalent of what the AHL is today. And Bruce Cassidy actually played a couple of years in the Italian league towards the back end of his career. So Bruce Cassidy already had some success as a professional hockey player. Bruce Cassidy spent 14 years as a professional hockey player before becoming a head coach. And it's actually interesting because if you actually analyze Bruce Cassidy and what he did as a coach, it is remarkable how he got to where he is now. So he actually got his career started as a head coach in the ECHL for the Jacksonville Lizards. The Jacksonville Lizard Kings are in the Double A system of professional hockey. So for anyone who doesn't get the reference, NHL is Major League Hockey, AHL is Triple A hockey, ECHL is Double A hockey. So he was a head coach for 2 seasons in Jacksonville before getting a promotion to the IHL, to the International Hockey League, being the head coach of the Indianapolis Ice. He was there for a little bit. He goes over to the Grand Rapids Griffins and actually was their coach for 2 years, won the division back-to-back years, and he actually ended up having a good amount of success being a head coach for Grand Rapids. So, with him having that success of back-to-back division titles in the AHL, he gets his first ever deal being a head coach in the NHL. As a matter of fact, he ends up being the head coach of the Washington Capitals. I want to put this a little brief disclaimer out here. When Bruce Cassidy was hired as the Washington Capitals head coach, the general manager at that time was a young George McPhee. So a young George McPhee hires Bruce Cassidy to be his head coach for 2 seasons in Washington. His most standout thing, by the way, from that, he actually finished second in the division and was actually in the playoffs where they lost the first round to Tampa Bay. So Bruce Cassidy, after 2 seasons, he has a record of 47, 56, and 7, because yes, there were ties back then. He gets fired and he gets demoted back down to the AHL. So he ends up going there for a while. He ends up being a scout. He ends up being a assistant coach for the Chicago Blackhawks team he played for, and then he ends up being a hired once again, but this time to be a coach in the Junior Hockey League. As a matter of fact, he actually gets hired by Kingston, who was a team in the OHL, a league he ended up playing in his early career. So, for 3 seasons, he is the head coach of the OHL. He plays for Kingston. They do not have that great of a success, so he eventually joins the Boston Bruins organization. He becomes an assistant coach in 2008. He spends 3 seasons as an assistant coach and then becomes a head coach in the 2011-2012 season. And as a matter of fact, that is where the story kind of kicks off because you have to remember he wins his division once, he makes the playoffs 5 of those 6 years, and he actually ends up getting a promotion to the Boston Bruins to be their full-time head coach in 2016 2017. And I'm gonna point out, Boston Bruins fans, he was reliable, he was dependable, and when I read out what his, win-loss record was with the Boston Bruins, it should really be alarming on why he got fired in the first. So the Boston Bruins hire Bruce Cassidy in the 2016 season to replace Claude Julien. Okay, they hire him and they bring him in to replace the Stanley Cup winning champion in Claude Julien. So his first season in Boston, they lose in the first round to the Ottawa Senators. However, he had a win-loss record of 18-9 that season, and they finished third in the Atlantic. The next season, 2017, they have a record of 50-32, second in the division, and they lose in the second round this time to Tampa Bay. Third season in Boston, 2018-2019, they go 49-33, finish second in the Atlantic, but go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. They beat up on all the competition in front of them in the Eastern Conference and lose in the Stanley Cup Finals that year to the St. Louis Blues in his third season in Boston. So far, Bruce Cassidy went from being in the first round loss to being in a second round loss to being in a third round loss. I mean, Bruce Cassidy pretty much moved up every single year he was in Boston. But no, let's keep going. Year four, being the head coach of Boston, 2019, they go 44-26, have the best record in the Atlantic, win a division, and lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning when they went on to win the Stanley Cup that year. In the shortened, pandemic shortened 2020 season, they went 33-23 and lost in the second round to New York Islanders. And then his sixth and final season coaching the Boston Bruins, they went 51-31. For anybody who had been paying attention, he had the most wins in the regular season with the Boston Bruins at 51-31 that season. He actually won more games that year than he did in the 2017 and 2018 campaign when they actually made it far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But what ended up happening that season is that they lost in the first round to the Carolina Hurricanes. And because Bruce Cassidy lost in the first round to Carolina, Boston fired Bruce Cassidy. Even though he had a 107-point season, even though Bruce Cassidy ended up having a better record than any of his 5 seasons before it, because he lost in the first round, he got fired by Boston. And, for somebody who won the Jack Adams Award in 2019, for someone who helped lead the Boston Bruins to a President's Trophy in 2019, to me, it always felt like it was a bit odd that Bruce Cassidy gets fired by the Boston Bruins despite having the best regular season performance by the Boston Bruins in terms of wins up to that point. And I foreshadowed this earlier, but Bruce Cassidy's win-loss record with the Boston Bruins, in his 6 seasons being the head coach in Boston, Bruce Cassidy went 245 wins to 154 losses. For anyone who can do simple mathematics, that is an insane win-loss record. 245 wins to 154 losses in his 6 seasons coaching the Boston Bruins. And since I'm actually someone who can do it, his win-loss record with Boston, if you actually wrote it out, he had a 61.4% winning percentage as a head coach in Boston. So the Boston Bruins, after 6 seasons being the head coach in Boston, after being part of the Boston Bruins organization 14 years in the AHL and NHL, they fire Bruce Cassidy, and he ends up going to the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I really want to point out that Bruce Cassidy has a certain mentality. Bruce Cassidy has a certain philosophy when it comes to hockey. When it comes to how Bruce Cassidy plays the game and how he uses his team, you have to remember what position Bruce Cassidy played in his career. Bruce Cassidy, once again, was a defenseman in the NHL. Bruce Cassidy was a defenseman when he played back in the 80s and 90s. So it's no shocker that when Bruce Cassidy is a head coach, he focuses a lot on the defense. He focuses on making his defense a goaltender friendly defense. He tries to make his team focus on protecting the net. They focus on bringing enough people to surround your goalie and take pressure off the guy in net. Anyone who's been watching the Vegas Golden Knights in year 6, or anyone who's been watching Vegas Golden Knights during their first season playing under Bruce Cassidy, it is clear and obvious he brought over that coaching style from Boston. Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson, regardless of who is in net for Vegas, they are protected, they are taken care of, they are made sure that the goaltender doesn't have to have takeaways and enough giveaways on 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, one-on-one opportunities. The Vegas Golden Knights have done a very smart and strategic move, and that is bring over the coaching style of a goaltender-friendly defense that Bruce Cassidy put in Boston. And when you have been watching the Vegas Golden Knights, and when you have observed Vegas, Chase Theodore leads the entire NHL in plus minus as we speak. Year 6 of, of the Vegas Golden Knights, 2022 season for your Vegas Golden Knights, Chase Theodore once was a liability on defense. That was one of his biggest weaknesses, was the fact that he wouldn't lay back. That he would try to march up, he would try to run up, and he would try to score goals. Well, now the Shea Theodore playing in a Bruce Cassidy coaching style. Now the Shea Theodore is playing in a system built by Bruce Cassidy. Shea Theodore having arguably his best season of his career as a Vegas Golden Knight. There's a reason why Alex Petrangelo is currently on pace to have an 82-point season for your Vegas Golden Knights. Understand the majority of the defensemen for your Vegas Golden Knights have a positive plus minus under Bruce Cassidy. I think Zach Whitecloud, and I think maybe Brett Ben Hutton. Those are the only two people right now who are in the negative column in the plus minus for Vegas. Everyone else is in the positive on defense for your Vegas Golden Knights. As we are talking about how the Boston Bruins helped your Vegas Golden Knights by firing Bruce Cassidy here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I just wanted to very quickly mention how Bruce Cassidy and his goaltender-friendly coaching style, he has done a lot when it comes to being with Vegas. I also understand there is one style that Bruce Cassidy has that some people like and some people don't. A style that Bruce Cassidy has that he has brought over to Vegas is that he demands a lot from his young guys. Bruce Cassidy will like to put younger players in display and see if they can perform or not. Zach Whitecloud, Brett Howden, Nick Waugh, Logan Thompson. There is a handful of players under the age of 25, around 25, 26 years old, who Bruce Cassidy has given an expanded role since coming over to Vegas. There are some people who don't like how Bruce Cassidy will favor young guys, he will favor rookies, and will favor younger players and demand a lot out of them in Boston. There actually has been some people in Boston who complained about how he used Charlie McAvoy early in his career in Boston. There were some people who complained on how he used David Pastrnak out there in Boston early in his career. My counter argument is, have you seen how Bruce Cassidy made Charlie McAvoy one of the best defensemen in hockey today? Has anyone noticed that David Pastrnak as an elite goal scorer and one of the best point getters in hockey? Maybe Bruce Cassidy actually knows what he's doing when he has these young guys, these rookie, sophomore, players under 25, and he relies on them and puts pressure on them to perform for Bruce Cassidy. Because people always mention Charlie McAvoy, he has become one of the best defensemen in all of hockey, and I put a lot of credit to Bruce Cassidy for making it happen. And yes, Bruce Cassidy does use a 2-1-2. Now, for anyone who doesn't understand the terminology, I'm going to break it down very carefully. That is the zoning in hockey. So Bruce Cassidy will do a 2-1-2, which means two people will be on offense, will be in front, one person will be in the middle, and two people will be laying back, playing defense. In other words, your two defensemen will be laying in the blue line, and if there's a turnover, if there's a mistake, they immediately get back on defense. There'll be one person in the middle who will be in the zone. They will be towards the face-off zone. They will be in the middle, and they can actually be used as a distraction. They can use it as a segue if needed. And then your two on offense, well, they're the ones sitting in front of the net. They'll be the ones in the slot. Those will be two players that you are focusing solely on putting the puck in the back of the net, and they're normally the last people to get back over on defense. Now, Pete DeBoer had a very different system here in Vegas. Where Pete DeBoer, he would use a 1-3-1 system where you had one person charging, three people in the middle, and then only one person laying back. And when there was an eventual turnover, it would end up backfiring on them because you only had one person laying back, and you can have a 2-on-1 opportunity, you can have a 3-on-1 opportunity, depending on how fast the offense can get back around. So Bruce Cassidy brought over a 2-1-2 system and has allowed Vegas to not have as many takeaways, not have as many opportunities to go after the offense on the opposite side. So Bruce Cassidy has done a good job with rookies. He's done a good job with younger players. Bruce Cassidy was able to take a group of misfits and have made them one of the best teams in all of hockey. Bruce Cassidy took members who came from all these different teams in the NHL and have made one of the best rosters in all of hockey heading into 2022. So, what does it mean going forward? We talked about the past for a little bit. Let's talk about the future here. What does it mean for the future of Vegas? Because Bruce Cassidy has a relationship with actually a few people on this organization. There are a few people who are brought over either this off season or they were brought over the last off season, and they have a relationship with Bruce Cassidy. The first one is the guy from Boston, is from Massachusetts, and that is Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel played for the Junior Bruins from 2010 to 2012. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Boston Bruins Junior is, that is the junior hockey team for the Boston Bruins. He also went to Boston University, and he actually played a lot amount of time playing in Boston University, playing for Boston Junior. Bruce Cassidy would know all about him because he was the assistant coach for the Boston Bruins. He was the head coach for the Providence Bruins. He would know a lot about it. Somebody else who would have a relationship with Bruce Cassidy would actually be Riley Smith. Because Riley Smith was part of the Boston Bruins organization. He was only with them for 2 years, but Riley Smith was with the Boston Bruins around the same time Bruce Cassidy was with Boston. Bill Kessel was drafted fifth overall in the 2008 NHL draft by Boston, and he actually played 3 whole seasons for the Boston Bruins, and he actually played a few amount of years for Boston. So Bruce Cassidy would know who he is because he once again joined the Boston Bruins around 2008. He would know who he is. You also have, for example, George McPhee. And I kept this for last because I really wanted to bring this home. George McPhee would definitely know who Bruce Cassidy is because of their relationship with the Washington Capitals. He was the general manager of the Washington Capitals from 1997 to 2014. Bruce Cassidy was the head coach of the Washington Capitals from 2002 to 2004. So Bruce Cassidy and George McPhee already had a relationship. And that's actually a reason why those probably got reacquainted. That's actually a reason why so many people were not surprised that Bruce Cassidy got hired by Vegas because of the relationship that they had with the Washington Capitals. And I also want to very quickly bring this up because I feel like if I didn't bring this up, somebody would definitely bring it up for me, so I might as well address it now. Yes, there is actually one more player who has a relationship with Bruce Cassidy. There is one more player who would definitely know who Bruce Cassidy is, and that actually would be Michael Hutchinson because he was drafted by the Boston Bruins in 2008 when Bruce Cassidy was brought on. He played for the Providence Bruins in 2010, 2011, and 2012 when Bruce Cassidy was a member of the coaching staff for the Providence Bruins. So, Michael Hutchinson being signed this offseason to be a veteran goaltender definitely had a lot to do with his relationship with Bruce Cassidy. As we got about 2 minutes left here on Vegas Hockey Hub, I want to give a quick shout out to PR Connections Radio, Voices of Humanity. Now, Sandra, she had a fantastic show doing Voices of Humanity. Go support her. Go support all the content on PR Connections Radio. You have the Love of Business, two brand new hosts who have a fantastic job doing what they do. You have We Got the Power with Brian Gardner. You have Cozy Stone, who brought on a show very recently, had a really good guest come on. And you also have a show called The Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, and they're going to be doing a show about MLB postseason conversation in the month of October. So if you want to talk about baseball, basketball, football, hockey, I would highly recommend watching The Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio. That is on this network as well. But until then, this was another great edition of Vegas Hockey Hub, where I broke down how the Boston Bruins helped the Vegas Golden Knights by firing Bruce Cassidy. And I want to say to everyone watching around the world that keep supporting Vegas Hockey Hub. Follow us on social media at Vegas Hockey Hub. And go support all of our content by going to VegasHockeyHub.com. Until next time, go watch hockey for all of your minor league hockey teams. Go Knights, go! And we will see you